All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble. Of course, I do see that live chat is working and people are piling in, so probably no problem. We have breaking news, first and foremost. We'll talk about that briefly now before we get into the nitty gritty. The Prime Minister of Slovakia, Robert Fico, has been shot, actually. So some people are worried about it being a Franz Ferdinand style moment. He's been an opponent generally of globalism, kind of skeptical about elements of the Ukraine war, not in favor of mass migration. So put two and two together, you can probably figure out one of the two or three reasons why someone would want to shoot him. It's pretty self-evident. It's pretty obvious. When you've got a major political figure getting shot in broad daylight, the person quite clearly is unafraid of being captured or killed at that point. You can assume, therefore, that it's political. You can assume, therefore, that the person has one or more alternative political views from the individual who's been shot. I would say probably either a leftoid or somebody, a hitman for the globalists of some sort or another, somebody who's a gung-ho for limitless wars and imperialistic globalism or something like that. So we'll be talking more about that. And if breaking news does come through, now, while we are live on that particular case, since that is breaking last couple of hours, I would appreciate more intel if people can give it to me. You can always send it to me on a Twitter DM. I'll check it a few times while I'm live. We've got Biden pretending that Donald Trump is afraid to debate him, which is funny because Donald Trump has spent months challenging Biden to debate. Now Biden's saying, oh, come on, ma'am, I'll take you out behind the woodshed. And then he proposes 2 debates as opposed to the standard 3. There's probably a reason for that. And then he had a video. It was posted over on Twitter, actually, and we'll get to that as well if I can remember to do so, where he's like, well, Donald Trump's afraid to debate me. I'll name the time and place, Mac. I'll make you do push-ups behind the woodshed. It just comes off weird. When Joe Biden, who's geriatric and feeble, tries to be macho, it never really comes off well. Yeah, it's great. It's red meat to your base. They're already voting for you, Joe. You're supposed to try to wine and dine independent voters. You seem uninterested in doing so. That's why Biden rarely holds rallies, because he can only get 5 people to show up. We've got a whistleblower. The EPA failed to protect East Palestine residents after the Ohio train derailment. Whistleblower Robert Krautiel is calling the agency's testing into doubt. It has to do with a sensors plane that they flew over the venue. They waited too long to do it, and it was botched. And now there's a whistleblower saying, hey, things are still fucked up there. There are lingering health issues, and nobody's taking them seriously. We've got Chris Sununu, cucking, of course. He was a never-Trumper. Now he's on the Trump train. I'm sure it's going to score him a cabinet position or something like that. That's more of a funny story, because Sununu is a cuck, like in the literal sense, like as in, he probably cucked Nikki Haley's husband, so there's that. I have a feeling that they literally boned, but whatever. Federal judge tosses Democrats' lawsuit challenging Wisconsin absentee voting requirements. A partial defortification is underway in the state of Wisconsin. So again, no black pill zone. It is actually winnable. Ex-Marine from New Jersey arrested for threatening to kill white people in a mass shooting. Joshua Cobb of Trenton, who is black, that's why it's not front page news on MSNBC, going crazy online and talking about how he wanted to splatter as many white people as possible. But we're not sure of the motive. I'm sure he just was deranged. And finally, scientists push for powdered insects in processed foods to help overcome disgust factor. I've told people for a while, you should generally avoid processed foods. And by the way, where are the liberals and leftoids to complain about this and consumer labeling and stuff? I remember there was a big push, especially in blue states like Vermont, with GMO labeling years ago. They don't seem to be on the forefront of this one for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why. Tigers are my totem. Sent $5. No comment. Thank you. Ornu. Hello, Sticks. I was curious if you had ever experimented with adrenochrome in your recreational days. No, I have not. It's aggravatingly difficult to find any information on its psychedelic properties since the blood harvesting conspiracies. No, I have not used adrenochrome until recently. Didn't realize it was even lab grade available. I have no interest in that sort of thing. My psychedelic days, by the way, are long since over. I haven't used any psych since, 2011 or thereabouts? It's been a long time. Can't use them anymore. Overdosed on spice and the rest was history. I blew out some receptors there, so I can't even enjoy weed anymore. Mike the Wop, hi Tarl, hope it's all good. Clank ma fukurs. Yes, very good. It's raining right now, so the garden plants are doing well. Although there was an interloper in the garden this morning. A baby bunny managed to get in there and couldn't get out, and so I had to save it. Now, I'm not going to kill the bunny. Okay, I know it's damaging to the garden, but it's too cute to kill. It's not like a gopher or a skunk or something like that. Fuck them. I'll just shoot them. So I had to, but it destroyed one of the winter squash plants, nibbed it off right at the base, and so I have to replace that. Also, we're losing one of the cucumbers. It got a little bit fucked up when it got planted, I think. The rest of them are doing fine. Wasted Bonehead, good morning from the grave. Another Democrat voter. Billy Howard, breaking news. CNN will host the debate June 27th. Oh, wonderful. CNN will host it. I'm sure that the moderation will be 100% fair. And by the way, Biden also saying he's not going to do any debates that aren't legacy media related. So you get two debates. They're legacy media moderators. You know, what are they fucking doing? Obviously, they're trying to rig the debate stage in favor of Creepy Joe. We know this, but we saw it in 2020, so it's not really a surprise. And Trump, he knows, he's ready for it. But anyway, to the breaking news, the Prime Minister of Slovakia has been shot several times in public only a few hours ago. We're not exactly sure about his condition at this time. It's listed by some sources as critical, but we're not 100% sure. It said that he got shot in the head and chest, so he may or may not survive. Some people are worried it'll be a Franz Ferdinand moment. That sort of depends on whether he lives or not. If he lives and revives and everything's fine, probably not. Should he die, there will definitely be a lot of national ire there. It'll upend the political system. I mean, not that it won't play a role in the political system there, even if he lives, but even a disproportionate one should he die. And again, we're not sure exactly of who the attacker is, but we can probably guess the motive. That's pretty straightforward. And we're not exactly sure what condition he is in, so speedy recovery to him. Interesting political figure. He's a little bit like an Orban. In fact, they're compatriots. Vaguely nationalistic, although not really right-wing economically in the general sense. Skeptical of globalism and of some of the EU's policies, especially related to migration. In Eastern Europe, you see a lot more of that. And in Western Europe, it's more economic and regulatory policies that are worried about. In Southern Europe, it's more fiscal policies related to the currency, to the euro itself. And then in Eastern Europe, a lot of it's migrant crisis, national identity. You sort of got a tale of three Europes. And in Scandinavia, they just want, subsidized butt plugs at this point, I guess. So he has been shot. We're not sure the condition. And if somebody wants to DM me on Twitter, I will sporadically check my DMs over there, because there's always the possibility of new news coming in. This is a breaking story, keep in mind. This is in the last couple of hours, and so we're hoping that he recovers, partially because otherwise political systems can be upended. Nonetheless, I would say this. I do not believe, unless this turns out to be a hitman from some East Bloc nation, and I don't think that would be the case, it probably doesn't trigger a Ferdinand-style moment, like a Jacob's Ladder style thing in Europe at large, especially since Slovakia, no offense to any Slovakians watching this live or otherwise, Slovakia is a minor economy. It is a minor player within Europe. It's not the same as Poland or Germany. And so international community looks the other way more often with regards to these nations. You've got a junta or a coup or an overthrow in Cambodia. People care less than if it was an overthrow in China, for example. It impacts the world markets more. It impacts trade and strategy and military alliances to a greater degree. Again, no offense, but that's just the way that people around the world tend to see it. Andrew Espinoza, morning Sticks. Which countries will Trump have the hardest time reestablishing diplomatic relations with because of Biden's ineptitude? Israel would come to mind, and Palestine for that matter. Taiwan and China. Potentially. There's a whole host of them. Name a country in which we have better diplomatic relations other than maybe Canada than we had under Trump. Well, there are none. So he's going to have to patch them all together. It's going to take him some time. Dutch Schaefer, let Joe Rogan mediate the debate. Yeah, they would never accede to that. Joe Biden would start rambling about conspiracy theories. Alan H., Stevie Ray Vaughan, Texas Flood, live at the El Macambo, greatest guitar solo of all time. I don't know. I think that the greatest guitar solo is still Jimi Hendrix. He's got sort of the market cornered on that, and also Lindsey Buckingham from Fleetwood Mac. His with big love. There aren't many people that are capable of replicating that. Also, Stevie Stevens, who is totally unsung in the world of guitar. Have you seen his pseudo flamenco there? Plays it one-handed while smoking, and he's just grinning and throwing the guitar around, and very much unsung with his guitar skills. He usually works with Billy Idol. He's usually the guitarist when Billy Idol goes on stage. There's a reason for that. He's an excellent guitarist. Wasted Bonehead Sticks. I'm not a Democrat voter. I'm a Tuttle voter. Yeah, write in Fred Tuttle if you're in the state of Vermont for the gubernatorial slot. We'll see how many votes we can get Fred Tuttle's skeleton, basically, because I'm not going to vote for Phil Scott, and I'm not going to vote for whoever his Democratic opponent's going to be, because, you know, it's just completely useless. It doesn't even matter who wins. So, Steve, a witch friend of mine, said she asked spirits to help me find work. I don't believe in this stuff, but she does, and I'll try anything. Does a lot of synchronicity suggest help is on the way? Yeah, synchronicity is a great thing. If you believe in it, then you can achieve it, would be my suggestion. So if you think that there are higher powers helping you out, that should help you in the real world as well. And I do believe in literal higher powers, not higher, but differential on some other plane. I do believe in literal spirits and things like that. So I'm not saying that I don't believe in literal witchcraft. I do. But part of it is psychological. Merdane, a cult video idea, fire and sun worship. That'd be interesting. I've edited a couple of works on solar cults and things like that. Thank you for the suggestion. It's a good idea. Scott Steiner, the world's greatest ring announcer, started Fallout 4 again after the newest update. Ad Victoriam, if Donald becomes president again, will he be able to take action against his persecutors at the federal level? I think he'd be impeached. They will impeach him 100% regardless of what he does. You can look for a legendary third impeachment of Trump in a second term. They will waste their time doing so. So yeah, the breaking news of the day, the Prime Minister of Slovakia has been shot. We're not sure the condition. We're not sure who shot him, but we can surmise who, considering he's an anti-globalist, a vague Eurosceptic. He's not on board with every element of the Ukrainian war. We can probably figure out who would want him dead, or at least taken out of commission for some time. You know, we're not, again, exactly sure the extent of his injuries, but he was shot multiple times. So we'll be looking for potentially more breaking news over the rest of the day. And keep in mind, I go live with the quartering at 5:30 p.m. as well. So there might be breaking news by then. I would be surprised if we don't end up talking about that to some extent. I see Anton's in the house with his delicious biltong. Well, an emergency supply of elk is apparently on its way to me, which I'm very thankful for, because it didn't last long. Just saying, the elk especially is not going to last very long in this household. Nor does the carbonasi, nor anything else. The bison's still sealed up in there. I got to start in on that now that the elk is gone, I guess. Next news story. Joe Biden is pretending that Donald Trump is afraid to debate him. This is the exact opposite of reality. We've spent several months with Donald Trump coming out and challenging Joe Biden to debate him. Biden has repeatedly said, well, first he said it was conditional. Well, we'll see how Donald Trump acts, and maybe I'll debate him, maybe I won't. It's basically a cop-out, like, he's a naughty boy. I don't want to be on stage with the naughty boy. So if he cleans up his act and does the normal thing, then I'll totally debate him. But if he keeps being bombastic, then I'm not going to be able to do that. Now, because of pressure, both from in and out of party, he's finally acceded to officially agree to debate Donald Trump. See, the problem is that these are going to be TV news moderated, so Trump's not going to get fair treatment. We already know that. We saw 2020. Biden says, well, I beat him already in several debates the last time around, so, you know, I'll take him out behind the woodshed. You didn't beat anyone. That's the whole point. That's completely subjective. And, I mean, once Trump brings up the economy, it's going to be kind of hard for Joe Biden to keep pace. What I expect is they will have debates. That's the good part. I'll definitely live react to them because it'll be hilarious. We'll do some live fact checking. But you're not going to see live fact checking of anything Joe Biden says when you watch apparently CNN for the June debate. We're not sure about the potential August debate. We're not exactly sure. By the way, I want a vice presidential debate. I want to see Kamala Harris do the deer in the headlights thing as well, like Elizabeth Warren mode. We're not sure exactly who Trump's running mate will be yet, though. We've got a short list. We know that Tulsi's on it. Kristi Noem was. She's fucked off basically at this point. She canceled her book tour, actually. I wonder why. We've got Byron, and we've got Tim Scott. We've got potentially Rubio. Again, you could do worse, but you could do better. Elise Stefanik and Carrie Lake and a few others. There's a fairly short list, but we're not sure who it'll be. These will be TV, cable news, moderated, so Trump won't get a fair shake. They'll probably have a dump button or something like that. Oh my God, he just made a good point. Quick, silence him and say that he went over his time. He's not allowed to speak anymore. And there will only be 2 of them. Normally, there's 3 presidential debates. One specifically in the middle, only on foreign policy. I wonder why Joe Biden would not want to debate that point. We're not even sure the ramifications of what they're going to be debating. I have a feeling they are going to strenuously avoid bringing up anything about the economy, unless it's a softball to Biden, anything about foreign policy or the border, anything about crime. And Biden will lie repeatedly. He'll repeat the lie of inheriting 9% inflation, which he didn't. He inherited 1.4% inflation, which is pretty fucking low, actually, pacing well behind wage growth. He'll lie repeatedly, but you're not going to see any fact checking by the networks that are covering the debates. You're not going to see one mumbling fucking word about it. Instead, they'll fact check what Trump says, denounce him as fanatical, denounce him as a liar, and they'll call it a day. And then, inevitably, they'll declare Joe Biden the victor of both debates. Trump also knows this. He is well aware of the shenanigans. He's talked about them before. I wouldn't also be surprised if they try to schedule the debate so that Trump has court the day before. I would not be the least bit surprised at them attempting to maneuver around for that purpose. President Joe Biden said Wednesday on social media that he won't participate in the campaign debate sponsored by a nonpartisan commission, instead challenging Republican Donald Trump to a pair of debates. Donald Trump lost 2 debates to me in 2020, Biden posted on X, the site formerly known as Twitter. Since then, he hasn't shown up for a debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal. Again, inbred banjo deliverance kid, only elderly. The Democrats suggested the 2 candidates could pick some dates, taking a dig at Trump's ongoing hush money trial by noting the Republican is free on Wednesdays, the usual day off in the trial. In addition to the post, Biden campaign chair Jen O'Malley Dillon sent a letter to the Commission on Presidential Debates to say that Biden would not participate in its announced debates, choosing instead to participate in debates hosted by news organizations. What a goddamn con. So a nonpartisan group that's been brokered to specifically host the debates, you're too afraid to go to those because it's nonpartisan. You'll only do it if it's on CNN. That smacks of cowardice to me. And of course, it's a grift. The idea is to try to make the situation as unfavorable to Trump as you can possibly make it. So partisan moderation, which is what you'll get with CNN. We all know this. Only 2 of them, and all sorts of other concerns. And Biden gets to pick whatever the fuck date he wants. He'll pick a trial date, and then he'll say, well, Trump didn't show up. It's obviously he's a coward or something like that. I'm hoping the debates actually happen, but it's not necessarily assured because Trump could go back and say, look, we've got a nonpartisan commission trying to sponsor and broker these debates. Why do you insist on doing them before a CNN moderator? And he should drag Joe Biden on this token, but then in the end, he should accept anyway. He should accept it, go into the lion's den. He's done it before. He's capable of debating an elderly vegetable with literally nothing to run on other than J6 or abortion. So I don't see the risk to Donald Trump for attending. I'm proud of you. Per CNN, Biden and Trump accept CNN's invitation to debate on June 27th. Having a debate this early is off-putting. Oh, no, that's perfectly fine. I just hope that Trump picks a running mate soon. Mike the Wop, Trump debating Chris Wallace and Biden at the same time was hilarious during last election. Yes, the debates will go off the rails. You can, that's definite. Kathleen Green, Tulsi v. Harris, but it's a mud wrestling match. I don't want to see Kamala Harris in a mud wrestling match. Tulsi would be okay. Sassmaster, hearing this news about the EPA whistleblower will make the overturning of Chevron all the sweeter. Hopefully admin state starts shrinking. Don't count on it, unfortunately. We'll go to our merch partners before we go to more news. By the way, I am still a little bit throaty right now because I think the pine trees are beginning to mate. It looks like they're starting to do that puffy pollen thing. That's a miserable time of year for me. Thankfully, I'll be going to the Netherlands at some indefinite point in the near future, so there are no pine trees there. Well, right in the middle of the country, but, you know, their pollen pretty much stays put. So over on the German border, you don't have to worry so much. Here are our merch partners. We have pumpkinfirecrafts.us, the home of keychains, belt chains, bookmarks, amulets, and engraved spoons, along with more available now with the Stick, Sex, and Hammer Ouroboros, Clank, and other memes with regards to the channel. BiltongUSA.com or AntonsUSA.com, where you can get delicious meat. Yes, elk biltong is available. I think they're still looking to stock up on venison. But as long as you got elk, you don't really need anything else. I think that's my new favorite. It's even better than the bison or the carbonaceae, and it takes a lot to knock them off their pedestal. Use code STICKS for free shipping, by the way. We have mugs, tumblers, and shirts available also on the site. WickedNeedleEmbroidery.BigCartel.com, where you can find Stick, Sex, and Hammer hats. Yes, indeed. The offset Ouroboros logo, or in the center with Stick, Sex, and Hammer 666 written below. A lot of people wanted those. When I showed up with that hat on, there were like 1,000 people that wanted the hat. Heritage Heirloom Seed Company.com, home of the seed survival bucket. A lot of the seeds and seedlings that I've got out back, they're from Heritage Heirloom. By the way, the Japanese cucumbers there are doing very, very well. Really, really lush and dark green, no yellowing or anything. The other one's a little bit further behind, but other than one of them will have to be replaced. That one, I think I planted wrong and it died. The rest are doing well. Also, the Stick, Sex, and Hammer soap box available there. It is blueberry, clove, and cedar. It's the best soap that I've ever used, and I'm not saying that because I'm being paid to say it. I'm saying it because when I take a shower later, I'm going to be using that soap. Webster'sWares.com/sticks-wares. Use code STICKS there as well. We've got beanies. We've got metal straws. We've got all sorts of things available, Sticks, Hex, and Hammer related. Also, they have Trump paraphernalia like the flag behind me, and much, much more available from Webster's Wares as well. Jamandbean.com. That is JAMNBean.com, where you can get delicious coffees and teas. Costa Rica Blend, I will always push that one. Still got some underneath the cupboard in the kitchen. I'm thinking maybe because it's so rainy and dreary out, maybe I'll pour myself a cuppa after the live stream. And finally, MTPew, that is MTPEW.com, where you can get ammunition from Bearded Grizzly, of course. We've got range brass and newly made ammunition available. 40 Smith & Wesson, 45 9mm, 223, 556, and more available now. So get yours today. Everyone could use a little more ammo. Maybe I'll get a little bit more. Sparky, greetings, fearless leader. Greetings to you as well. Jesse1234, hey Sticks, Trump holding off picking his VP pick. The longer Trump waits, the harder to print ballots. Your thought? No, because they can just do that same day. So that wouldn't really be a problem. I do want to see who he chooses as his running mate, though. Holden Sneedmeyer, the U.S. hegemony is coming to an end. Disagreed, actually. Trump is the only candidate I think that can guide us into the emerging multipolar world. DeSantis, judging by who his donors are, would have botched it. I don't think that the American century is over yet. In fact, I think that we're only a quarter century into it. That being said, yes, we have a lot of problems right now, mainly self-inflicted by Biden's ignorance of foreign policy and economics. The Gen X Gamer, will Trump name VP before the convention? I don't know. I have no clue. It'd probably help him, though. Maybe he's waiting till afterwards because he's not going to choose a neocon this time and he doesn't want any problems. You know, the day after, he's like, oh, by the way, Tulsi, get up on stage, wave to the crowd. Granite State Man, should we expect Trump's VP pick before 627 debate to give person time to prepare for a VP debate? We're not sure there will be a VP debate. This is a very, very strange election season, and it's very regrettable for a content creator like me who would really love to live react to those debates. I do plan to do so. I don't care what time zone I'm on, whether I'm here or in Europe. I don't care if it's fucking 5 a.m. I will be live reacting to any debates that they hold. That is a guarantee, because number one, it's good money and good exposure. Number two, it'll be fucking hilarious. Can you imagine? Joe Biden has a few more months to crepitate mentally before going up on stage with somebody who's got at least 20, 30 IQ points on him on a bad day. Just a sec. Wasted Bonehead. Sticks, what to say to libertarians who complain about Trump's tariffs and claim Trump is as bad as Biden? I genuinely don't understand their logic. Say that it's not free trade unless it's fair trade. If two countries mutually don't have tariffs, that's fine. That's what I would prefer. But if a country is tariffing your goods, you have to react by doing the same to back them down. And that's what Trump did and what Biden is pretending to do. BW, do you think Black Conservative Channel is correct when he says Biden accepting Trump's challenge to debate is a sign of desperation? Yes, I do. I do not believe that Biden wants to debate Trump at all. Even under favorable conditions, he's only agreeing to 2 instead of 3. Well, what gives? Supposedly, you're going to take him behind the woodshed and make him do push-ups. If you're so great at debating and so self-assured, why don't you say you want 4 or 5 of them? Fit him around the trial schedule. Run Trump in circles. You're so energetic, and Trump is Orange Man. He's a big buffoon, supposedly. Pees himself and shits the bed and stuff like that. If he's such a terrible debater and you're so great compared to him, why only 2 of them? And why do you need CNN to hold your back? Sigilstone. Did you see the Twitter discourse about the guy sticking a gas pump nozzle up his ass and jerking off in public? Yes, I unfortunately saw that video because it was unavoidable. Also, Bonehead, I've kidnapped Jewy, and I'm planning a Joker-esque situation for him. BW. Lol, I watched the Young Turks last and crying about Biden shipping more weapons to Israel. I swear this is the only good thing about Biden. What's his fastest record for disappointing the left? This? LMAO. Yeah, it's pretty quick, yeah. Only took like 3 days. Wasted Bonehead. Sigil, you fucker. Let the Tizimpus go. He's not involved in our feud. Sigilstone, I'm teaching Jewy to poop on graves. Hee. Kathleen Green, Sticks versus Razorfist, but it's a mud wrestling match. No, he's a germaphobe, and I don't like the feel of anything like wet and pasty or greasy on my face or in my hair. So I don't think that would be a thing. We'll just we'll have some females. We'll have a clanker and a member of the Razor Force who are female be our stand-ins, and they can mud wrestle or something. It'd draw more attention anyway. EPA failed to protect East Palestine residents after Ohio train derailment, according to whistleblower Robert Krautiel. There are still health concerns going on. An EPA whistleblower has stepped forward saying the EPA deviated from normal procedures. Big surprise there. When testing for chemical contamination after a train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. This was over a year ago, by the way. Time flies when you're not having fun. On February 6, 2023, officials in East Palestine, Ohio, vented and burned 5 tank cars full of vinyl chloride after a Norfolk Southern train derailed near the town. 3 days later, the Environmental Protection Agency gave the all clear for evacuated residents to return. Immediately, people in the area began complaining of sickness and rashes. You'll remember, Trump showed up and handed out water and cleaning supplies to topically reduce the contamination and help people a little bit. And then Buttigieg was immediately forced by the Biden admin to show up like the OSHA poster boy. Do you remember how cringe that was? Trump gets a standing ovation from everyone. He gets the endorsement of everyone in the fucking town. Buttigieg shows up. He mills around for a little while, sort of standing there like, with 5 dudes watching one dude slowly shovel asphalt into the pothole. That was Buttigieg's role. He was standing around and topically watching him and shooting the shit. I undressed to get in the shower, and I had a rash all over the side of my face, on both sides, and all over my chest, said resident Caitlin Schwarzenwelder. EPA Chief Michael Reagan, visiting East Palestine, praised the work of the EPA, giving specific credit to the high-tech plane they used to detect chemical compounds in the air called Aspect. See, the problem is that they deployed that plane days later and didn't necessarily calibrate it properly. That's according to the whistleblower. He said the EPA's protocol is to have the plane in the air within hours of a chemical disaster. He added that in all of his missions, he's never seen a response like the one in East Palestine. In East Palestine, we had a big delay, Krautiel said. There was a big delay in getting the aircraft to Pittsburgh. The delay was 5 days long, but he had no idea why. I'm still asking myself that question. Why would you deploy the aircraft 5 days late? Well, I can answer that question for the whistleblower, and I'm sure that it's a rhetorical question. It's because they wanted to wait while some of the chemicals dissipated so that they could present a view to the people in East Palestine and to the national public at large that the situation wasn't really that bad. It's a minor hazard. We're already cleaning it up. Don't worry. There's no possible long-term health detriment to you. We released known cancer-causing compounds downwind, and the soil in the immediate area is completely contaminated. And half the town is saying they're getting rashes and that their lungs burn. There's no problem here. Just ignore the fact that the dudes working out there practically have to wear hazmat suits. Did you see a Buttigieg with his respirator mask on? There was a reason for that. They knew that it was far worse than they let on, and they covered it up. And those people are still suffering even now. Dude, there was video taken in the immediate aftermath, literally the next day, of a bunch of dead fish and frogs and shit floating around in ponds and streams in the general area. No, it's not toxic at all. There's no problem here. I thought that the left was much more concerned about environmental proceedings. But no, Jesus, no, not this one. No. If you had a dry cleaner 30 years ago, then you have to strip up all of the soil to 10 feet depth or something like that, and then throw it into a landfill. But if you have tanker cars full of vinyl chloride getting burned up into the air, that's not a big problem. It's not going to cause any health concerns. Ignore hey, people of East Palestine, free seafood. The fish are just floating there. Why don't you grab them before they rot? You can make sushi. Might glow in the dark or cause stomach cancer, but it's there. Christopher McHale, wildlife biologist, desperate to get to number 1,000. Clank, clank, clank. Okay, a shout out for you. Like the WAP. Ever watch the X-Files? 2/3 came true, it seems. Yeah, I've seen some of the X-Files. I like that as a kid. Andrew Von Halen, Razor, being a germaphobe, explains his love for well-done steak. Yes, I know. He's phobic about the idea of what he calls underdone steak. I would point out that the center of the steak never touched the outside world and can't be contaminated with anything, and that any parasites that would be in it after extensive treatment and vaccination and everything else they do to modern cattle in the Western world would be killed if you're heating it to medium rare. But he does not understand the culinary world as much as I do. He also does not believe that beans go in chili, which is sad, or that pineapple goes on pizza, which is equally sad. Dat pie over there. Pete's visit was all booty and plenty of edging. Lol. Yeah, Buddha judge, booty judge, but a geeg. Call them what you want. The jokes write themselves. Two Dogs, Mike D. Do you remember when the donkeys refused to allow Joe to be checked for earpieces before the debate? Not that it would help him this time, but Trump should still demand it. Absolutely. Andrew Saberg. Greetings from Nebraska, Sticks. We managed to primary some of the rhinos in the vote yesterday. Unfortunately, not all of them. Yeah, you can't win every battle. You just got to win the war. Sigilstone. I, for one, cannot believe the town with the huge-ass chemical nuke cloud over it for a week has more terrible chemical contamination than we've been told. No, it's inexplicable. I thought the EPA wasn't lying and stuff, like a typical government bureau. Wasted bonehead, lol. Tismpus like autism octopus that Greta Thunberg had that got mistaken for a hate symbol. Jewy identifies as a hate symbol and would never poop on my grave. He's an emotional support animal. Music and fiction. We all just call him Booty Gig because that's all he does in office. Booty Gag, maybe. Sigilstone. I volunteer for representing Clankdom in the mud wrestling match as long as the Razor Force sends a blonde with big tits and a low IQ. Oh, God. Sparky, as far as I know, Flint, Michigan still has a screwed up water system and always will. Now we got to talk about Sununu. Yes, Sununu, the governor of New Hampshire, who spent all of his time boffing Nikki Haley in her trailer. And you just know by their interactions, there was a physical quid pro quo there. Yes, I believe that Sununu and Haley fought. They're around the same age. I think he's a little bit older. And he's like, well, you got to take what you can get at this time in life. If I can throw in New Hampshire, I might have boffed the future president of the United States. And he put all of his eggs in that basket, and they were all rotten eggs. And, of course, she got completely crushed there and everywhere else, other than the state of Vermont, which is fucking hilarious. Plenty of Democrats crossed over in the open primary. Don't worry about it too much. The state will inevitably go blue anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Now he's come out and said that he supports Donald Trump. After having severest TDS for many, many moons, he was completely on board with the Nikki Haley bullshit. I've always said I'm going to support the Republican nominee. I've said that forever, even during the primary. We were going to go after Trump really hard, and I stand by, I think, everything that I said. So, yeah, he's a terrible person, mentally crippled, tyrannical, not really conservative. He's a pervert, everything else, but I support him. For the sake of party unity, I support orange, retarded Hitler. I don't like the man. I don't care for him. I think he's cost us elections. I think he's a terrible brand for the party. I stand by all that, right? But it's about results. My message to George Stephanopoulos was you can say, oh, I don't believe Sununu is going to vote for Trump, but that's not a story. You know what the story is right now? 51% of Americans are voting for Trump right now. He's winning. Why are a majority of Latino voters voting for Trump? I don't know exactly because it's not in New Hampshire, but that's real. That's happening. I would challenge George and the rest of the journalists out there. Do your job. The real story is what's happening in America, but they tend to want to stay up here and talk to elites or elected officials or whatever. It's very flippant and nonchalant about this, by the way, you'll notice. Here's the thing. Sununu effectively ruled out any possibility of supporting Trump for months. He was all in with Nikki Haley and for some inexplicable reason convinced she could actually win the state of New Hampshire. Of course, she didn't. She came in behind Trump by a significant margin. And then the race was officially over at that point, but she straggled on through Super Tuesday and won one state. Plus DC. She won the two most blue enclaves in the entire country. Ta-da! Principled conservative. Yes, she's clearly the people's candidate. Trump always had it in the bag. The second that DeSantis went under 25 nationally, it was inevitable what was going to happen. It remains inevitable now. Trump and Biden will spar. May or may not have debates. That's not predictable. And Trump will probably win. And Sununu's just sucking cock right now. He's also sucking hind tip. He's doing that because he wants a political future. I don't think he's running again for the gubernatorial slot, but who knows what he has planned in the future. This shows, by the way, that he does want a future in politics, even if he's quitting his current position. He wouldn't have any reason to back down off of the TDS if he thought that Trump wouldn't likely win and he didn't want his potential backing in a future campaign. BW, I'm sorry, I think it's not chili without beans, but will never agree with pineapple on pizza. My New Zealand boyfriend introduced me to jam toast with cheese on it. It's actually good. Sounds all right. I'd try that. As long as it's a soft, sweeter cheese, like a brie or something like that. That sounds good. But yeah, chili needs beans if it's an entree. If it's going on top as a condiment, then it doesn't need beans. That's my nuanced take. Sigilstone. I'm starting Dewey with regular grave pooping, and as long as he hits the graves of Bonehead's roommates in the mausoleum, I'll be happy. Webster's Wares. Good morning, clankers from Endicott, Washington. Free shipping using code STIX and 25% off store-wide using code CLANKER25 at websterswares.com. New promo code will be announced Monday. Mike the Wop. Chili is like barbecue. What it is in the ingredients depend on where you are and who you're around. Yeah, although I have my druthers. 3 or 4 kinds of beans if it's the main entree because you want the beanie goodness. No beans if it's going on a chili dog, basically. J.R. Vate, first time watching live. Have you read The Jazz Age President Defending Warren G. Harding by Ryan S. Walters? Very excellent read. No, but it sounds interesting. I like presidential history. I like books of political history. They can be kind of dry and academic, but sometimes that's the kind of thing I want to read. Next news story from the state of Wisconsin. This is very good news, by the way, for the Trump camp. Federal judge tosses Democrats' lawsuit challenging Wisconsin absentee voting requirements. A federal judge has thrown out a lawsuit brought by them that challenged Wisconsin's witness requirements for absentee voting, a ruling that keeps the law in place with the presidential election 6 months away. So, if you want an absentee ballot in the state of Wisconsin, you need a witness signature. It's a small step. Of course, signatures can be forged and people can potentially sign off on multiple absentee ballots, even if they clearly violate the law because they're fraudulent. But it's a step in the right direction. It gets a person on paper as having committed voter fraud if that's their intent to do so, as opposed to letting a singular individual just fill out a bunch of fucking ballots and vote absentee. The rules for voting in Wisconsin are of heightened interest given its place as one of a handful of battleground presidential states. 4 of the past 6 presidential elections in Wisconsin have been decided by less than a percentage point, including the past 2. U.S. District Court Judge James Peterson tossed the lawsuit Thursday, saying the fact that the law has stood unchallenged in one form or another since the 1960s was telling. It may be debatable whether the witness requirement is needed, but it is one reasonable way for the state to try to deter abuses such as fraud and undue influence in a setting where election officials cannot monitor the preparation of a ballot, Peterson wrote. National Democratic law firm Elias Law Group, representing 4 Wisconsin voters, had argued that the state is violating the Federal Voting Rights Act and Civil Rights Act by demanding a witness signature on ballot envelopes. How you would be violating the Civil Rights Act by doing so is completely unknown. It makes absolutely no sense. The voters argued they had a hard time securing a witness signature because of health risk, age, and frequent travel overseas. Well, sucks to be you would be my rebuttal. Sucks to be you. If voting is important to you, then you'll vote. It's just like when people complain, well, they've shortened the number of voting stations. Like in Georgia, they've reduced the number of voting stations there and included also a law with regards to homeless citizens that they have to vote at the local precinct. They have to go to the actual office in order to get their ballot and vote. because they don't have a residence. And this is considered onerous. But it's like, if you want to do your civic duty, if you're really that enthralled by voting, I would think that taking a little bit of time out of your day to do that is not necessarily onerous. It's just like getting a voter ID. Who can't get a goddamn form of ID? Fucking subsidize it then. Make state IDs free or something like that. Then you've solved the problem. No problem with that. State law requires clerks to reject absentee ballots that are missing a witness address or signature. A Wisconsin judge ruled in 22 that election officials cannot correct or fill in missing information on witness certifications, a practice known as ballot curing, which is good. So now corrupt officials there can't act as a de facto witness to something that they didn't even witness. Kind of makes sense. Webster's Wares, Sticks, I missed your reply the other week. What are your top 3 or favorite 3 books you have written? Want to send them to you for the election night idea. I DM'd you on X. I would say my favorites. Well, I would say Fruits of Eden is my favorite book that I've written, but I need to do a new edition of that because it's in the wrong format. So I wouldn't say that one. I guess Occult Memetics, 101 Commie Jokes. That one was fun. And the gun rights debate and how to win it, I would say. I like my political works. Wasted Bonehead. Oh, hell no. I'll kill Dewey and resurrect him so he's undead and won't be able to poop. Checkmate, Sigil. King of Biltong. Good morning from Anton's Meat Eat. Free shipping for your Biltong using code STICKS at www.biltongusa.com and www.antonsusa.com. When you need that extra protein to get you through your day, get some Biltong. I strongly agree, by the way. Sigil Stone. Unfortunately, Bonehead, I've met a very nice doctor named Frank Enstein or something like that. He says he can bring the dead back to life so they can poop again. Guy reminds me of Willy Wonka. Interesting. Rick Rod 95. Didn't RFK Jr. challenge Trump to a debate a while ago? Would be cool to see him on the same stage as Trump and Dork Brandon. Yeah, but his speaking impediment would make him unlistenable. Gauge is on my face. You should totally play Deus Ex on stream. It's a 24-year-old cyberpunk about globalist conspiracies. Game still holds up. I've heard very good things about Deus Ex. Tony the Greaser. Sup, cats and chicks. Stay greasy. Now we've got the problem of Black Rage. Let me check my DMs really quickly here, just in case there's any breaking news about the Prime Minister of Slovakia getting shot, presumptively by a commie or a globalist hitman. I'm not exactly sure, but it's probably one or the other. Nothing yet. A former Marine from New Jersey has been arrested for threatening in violent social media screeds to slaughter as many white people as possible, federal prosecutors announced. He faces, by the way, only 5 years for this. It's interesting. People can get 5 years in prison for saying the wrong thing online just because it offended the wrong person. But if you threaten to literally gun down a bunch of people based on their race, 5 years, that sounds fair. Joshua Cobb of Trenton, who is black, is facing, which is why you're not seeing this in the mainstream media, is facing 1 count of transmitting a threat in interstate and foreign commerce, according to a statement issued Monday by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of New Jersey. During an interview with the FBI last month, 23-year-old Cobb allegedly confessed to penning a series of online posts that discussed his interest in serial killers and his intent to cause mayhem on the white community. The reason I specifically want to target white people, he said, is because as a black male, they will never understand my struggles, same way I will never understand theirs, but I don't care to. I want to erase them, all of them really, but in this case, as many as I possibly can. A post from December 2022 reads, as of today, I have officially begun planning my attack, it continued. It is going to take place in 2023 in the state of New Jersey. I have not chosen an exact date, but I am going to be sure it is close to an important holiday to their race. So, I don't know, the non-existent International White Person Day, Hug a White Man Week or something like that. There are no white holidays. I mean, there are, but, they're not billed as ethno-nationalistic. Cobb added that he had purchased 4 firearms to carry out the violence, that he planned on buying more. You can only really wield 2 at a time. You have a backup maybe, but it shows lack of strategic intelligence. This is a U.S. Marine, by the way. He also discussed his potential targets with authorities, specifically a Jersey Strong gym and an Aldi grocery store in Robbinsville, in several subsequent posts written in the spring of 2023. So it took him a while to actually look into the posts and identify that this person might be a problem. Where are those red flag laws? Oh, they work so well now, don't they? He fantasized about the rush he'd feel while shooting some shit up, adding that he'd get literally high off the adrenaline alone and probably OD on adrenaline after the 10th body goes down. He also allegedly wrote about how he dreams of becoming a serial killer. Now, let's be fully honest. If somebody's posting like this publicly, while they may be a genuine danger, and he presumptively was, at the same time, we can say that he's nuts, quite clearly. That is that the racial animus is secondary. Try to find a legacy media article where a would-be shooter was white and saying something roughly commensurate with this, where they say, well, quite clearly this person was just batshit. That is that they didn't even get radicalized. They were batshit to begin with. And he was enlisted with the Marines and attended basic training. And then he was discharged around May 10th, the complaint indicated. During a court appearance on Monday, Cobb was ordered to remain in detention pending his bail hearing on Friday. If convicted, he faces 5 years behind bars and a $250,000 fine. Yeah, so apparently if you actively plan and logistically you're gathering resources, guns and shit, and you openly avow that you want to kill as many people as possible for a racist reason, 5 years in prison, that's and a year off for good behavior probably, that's considered perfectly appropriate by the authorities. Imagine if his skin color were anything other than black. I don't think that he would be facing 5 years. I think he'd be facing 50. Just to be clear, Boss Neeson found the polling in Maryland's Democratic Senate primary interesting. Also, Brooks way overperformed most polls, some by 10%. Senor Faces. While Wisconsin's absentee ballot witness requirements are reasonable, it is unconstitutional to require a witness for a Styx Fumo plush petition. It's also unconstitutional to support having Styx Fumo plushes. Wasted Bonehead. Frank? God damn it, Frank. Music and fiction. The shooting of the Slovak PM is a carbon copy of what happened to Japanese PM Shinzo Abe. I did get that vibe from this, yes. I can guarantee that the CIA using Ukrainian agents likely ordered or orchestrated this. It's possible. It could be a Western hit job. It could also be a Europhile hit job. It could also be pan-globalist, or it could be leftoids, since he's not on the left, generally speaking. He's not woke. He doesn't believe in mass migration. So don't necessarily assume that. It could also be a commie, for all we know. BW, that's another thing Trump needs to do. Designate black supremacists as a hate group and officially put them on the same federal watch list as skinheads. I don't think that we need such watch lists. If a person's crazy enough to say it publicly, I'm sure that somebody local or state is going to notice anyway. F. Winter's loading. Is it smart to impeach Biden now, specifically for coordinating widespread persecution of a political opponent? Yes, but the Republicans are too weak to do that. They don't have the votes, and they shouldn't start proceedings unless they think they can actually do it, and they don't have the votes. Sparky, the extra firearms is so he doesn't need to pause to reload. Yeah, possibly, but, reloading the average rifle is not necessarily the most time-consuming thing in the world. And finally, oh, wonderful. Yes. Are you ready for your cricket burgers, dude? Scientists push for powdered insects in processed foods to help overcome the disgust factor. So in other words, people just don't know what's good for them. We should secretly put cricket powder and mealyworm powder in their foods. Scientists are pushing for processed foods to be tainted with powdered insects after a poll found that 47% of people are unwilling to eat bugs and only 13% are open to eating them regularly. I'm not part of either group. I'm not going to eat them regularly because why? There's no fucking point to it. But I'm not averse to eating them. Last week on live stream, did I not eat a dried scorpion slathered in ketchup? It wasn't that bad. I wouldn't want to eat it every day, but it was edible. Nothing special about it. I'd rather have a fucking veggie burger. If I want like a substitute for hamburger or lamb or something like that, I'm just going to turn to mushrooms or to textured carrot and beet and beans and stuff like that. Lentils. Lentil burgers are fucking great. They're savory. They're delicious. They're also healthy. If you don't want the meat burger, eat a lentil burger. Just try it. Just fucking trust me on that one. Why the fuck would I want the mealyworm burger? And if I want to buy rice or flour or bread or something, I don't want it to be adulterated with bugs. I have no problem with people choosing to eat the bugs if they want to. I sporadically eat insects because I find it amusing and lucrative, apparently, on live streams. But I don't want it subvertively put into my products without my knowledge and consent. This has been done successfully with rice products fortified with cricket or locust flowers in other parts of the world, Sharps argued. This is from the European Union, so you know that it's tyrannical. If insects are to be a mainstream part of the Western diet, the disgust factor is one of the most important challenges to overcome, she said, suggesting there may eventually be no choice but to eat the bugs due to climate change and projected global population growth. Well, I can think of solutions for that, like, backyard gardening, small farming, more efficient use of resources. Do you realize how much food that people waste? Something like 20-30% of all food that's bought goes to waste. And that's on top of the food waste that you have in stores themselves. Well, huzzah, we can support a considerably larger population with our current food output if we just waste less. Why don't you have a public education campaign? Hey, did you know that you can save money by saving your bacon drippings and reusing it to fry things? Did you know that composting exists and you don't need to put that lettuce in a landfill? Did you know that you don't actually need to buy $10,000 worth of fucking food and waste half of it? Did you know that leftovers actually can be eaten and are perfectly safe? There are people out there that'll snub leftovers. They'll have a dinner and then they throw out the remnant. Well, shit, that's usually a lot of food, especially if you have kids that are picky eaters. Thankfully, I do not suffer from this problem. My daughter will eat pretty much anything. She's got good taste. I'm very, very glad of this. I made chili once. Or was it some sort of curried beans? I can't remember. And it was really spicy. I put extra spice in that. I thought it was hot. She ate it. Didn't have a problem. And didn't care. Some insect proteins, such as ground crickets or freeze-dried mealworms, are cheaper and easier to farm, often lower in fat, and have a lower environmental impact than traditional livestock, she claimed. Jury's out on that one. I don't think that I wanted to start a mealyworm farm. By the way, because of the low yield per acre that you're going to get with mealyworms and the low overall income you're going to get after processing costs, you're going to have to heavily subsidize this for it to be anywhere near as inexpensive as getting protein from beef, especially pigs. For some reason, pig is really cheap. I don't know. Chickens and eggs and things like that. Milk, dairy products. It's going to take a long time and a lot of subsidies. The Times of London, the Rupert Murdoch-owned establishment newspaper of record in Britain, recently hailed a food revolution involving fried ants and worm chili. Here's again my thoughts. I am not averse to eating bugs. I do not consider them unhealthy. But I'm not going to do that on the reg. I'm not going to be coerced into doing it. And if I find out that a company is subvertively putting bug products into a food, I will boycott the company and make sure people are aware of it. I don't care. I've eaten fried mealyworms, dried tarantulas, crickets, locusts. I've eaten ants live. As a kid, I would just grab them up and eat them just to disgust, the girls in your class. You go up to the girls, say, hey, look at what I can eat. And then you pop an earthworm in your mouth or something. Ew, and then they run off, but it's, you think you're impressing them because you're dumb. And it was funny. You're trolling, and it's hilarious. You go up and you like hand them a frog or something like that. And every young boy finds that hilarious and endearing. I certainly did. Now, that doesn't mean I want to do that as a staple in my diet. God, I'll raise my own chickens or something like that. They're probably going to try to tax them into oblivion too. Sparky, sometimes in a firefight, seconds might be as well be hours. Yeah, well, true. Although it didn't seem like he cared if he died, so. Dread Clown, off-white spotting on my cucumber leaves. Ideas? They might be deficient in calcium or possibly in phosphate or potassium. Or it could be any of a number of things. Give them azomite and crushed up eggshells and see what happens. Apache. I start to say and think some are extremely racist things until I remember I'm black myself. I hate how racialized everything's become. Thanks, Obama. Yeah, I know. You should be able to tell racial jokes and all sorts of stuff like that, but I've never had to stick up my ass about someone just because of the color of their skin. Seems like there are some people, unfortunately, who deviate from that basic mentality. Opinionated junkie. Stock options are a scam. AMC stock got halted. Yeah, anytime that it rises or falls too quickly, they just magically decide that the stock can't be traded anymore. This is totally fair. By the way, there's nobody who gets advance notice that that's likely to be a thing and ever does insider trading within Congress. Pelosi made all that money honestly. Webster's Wares. Don't impeach Biden at this rate. Agreed. Might get him sympathy. Just vote his ass out. Get others to vote to where not enough printers can go burr and honk it again. Agreed. And a follow-up, we will never make Styx Fumos unless Styx wants it. Goes against Clanker Code 18302. Yeah, there will never be plushies, Styx plushies. Pepe Payne, on the debate rules, I feel no audience allows for selective editing and lack of witnesses of the catastrophe. maybe even AI editions in full release. I have no faith or trust in the system anymore. It won't be that transparent, but yes, there are certainly shenanigans around the debates. First, Biden's like trying to make it conditional on Trump being a good boy, and you know, he's trying to do the macho thing, the "I'm your dad" sort of thing. I'll take you out behind the woodshed, teach you a lesson. Now he's saying, "Oh yeah, I'll debate, but only with these 5 or 6 preconceived conditions and completely outside of the nonpartisan commission set up bilaterally in order to administer the debates." F. Winter's loading. Breaking news: Biden and Trump agree to debate late June. We've seen that, yes. Webster's Wares. I eat the food that eats the bugs. Chickens are delicious. Source meat locally and raise your own chickens. I would want them for the eggs. Otherwise, I'd consider them pets. Not a big fan of chicken, actually. I like beef. I really like fish. Well, if it's raw or smoked, you know, like smoked eel is, I think, my favorite food of all time, actually. I like how in the proper cut of eel, part of it is kind of rubbery and chewy, and then the rest is like flaky. And I really like it. When they cut it properly, it's 10 times better. Smoked eel is God mode, probably the best food in the world. And keep in mind, when we're talking about the disgust factor, what is an eel? It's a slimy snake-like creature that mucks around in pond scum and shit like that, but it's fucking delicious. If you prepare it properly, yeah, people eat it, but I don't want the bug flour put into the bread and stuff like that. It's not necessary. It makes no sense. Just offer the bugs. You know, the free market will fix the problem. People eat them if they're inexpensive, and if they're good, people eat the mealy worm burgers. I'll stick with the lentil burgers if I don't want meaty burger. Webster's Wares. Can't tax my chickens. They fuck and give us chicks. They can't stop me no matter who they are. Clem Semple. There will never be authorized Sticks plushies. Exactly. If somebody wants to make their own plushie for themselves, that's fine. But if I find somebody marketing something without my permission with my likeness, I'll sue them. That's how you do it. Now, I think with meat, God mode meats, bison, elk, gator. Gator's definitely up there. Ostrich, actually. Ostrich is great. And then eel and fish, depending on how they're prepared. Mid-tier is like, I like lamb. Pork, bacon would be top tier. Don't get me wrong, bacon or ham sausage or something like that. But mostly like pork chops and stuff. Yeah, I can't really digest pork chops. Venison would be mid to upper, again, depending on how it's prepared. I'd put turkey on the bottom. I don't understand turkey unless it's a Thanksgiving turkey. Oh, yeah, slimy, flavorless meat. How wonderful. No seasoning at all. If you baste it in its own juices, when it's stuffed with stuffing and surrounded by, you know, veggies of various sorts and slathered with, you know, surrounded by onions and shit, then it's delicious. Otherwise, like pressed turkey, sliced turkey and stuff, it's a goddamn meme. Oh, it has less fat in it, so it's better for you. Well, fuck you. I don't care if the meat has fat in it. That's sort of the point. Give me a T-bone here, God. Wasted bonehead. Okay. But what if we made a Sticks plush but gave them away for free? No, if somebody wants to make their own plush, that's fine. But, you know, apparently King of Biltong, he doesn't like gator. I didn't think that it tastes like fatty chicken. Slightly like a slightly fishy pork is how I would say it. A good one, too. Should make a gator biltong just as a joke. BW, oh, come on, Sticks. We could put you in a cute little wizard costume with the Ouroboros on it. Well, that would be funny. I hesitate to do the Sticks plushie thing. It's almost become a meme on the channel. People ask for plushies and I say no. So why would I give up a good thing? Yeah, T-bone steaks. T-bone is the best cut, in my opinion. Yeah, T-bone is good. Flat irons are good. Those are good if you put them in a stew. One time I made a beef stew, actually, when over in the Netherlands, this is a couple of years ago. And normally you use like the stew meat. So it's kind of sort of a tougher beef and you slow cook it and it loosens up and it's really, really good. It gets all flaky. And so you can turn a relatively cheap meat into something that's pretty tasty, pretty flavorful. One time, though, I also cut up and added a flat iron steak to it. And it dissipated into nothing more than little shreds. And it thickened the stew perfectly. So you got the chunks of stew meat, but then you got these little flakes floating around, extra meaty. Perfect. Oh, it was great. I'm going to have to do that again. They don't always have the good flat irons there. I don't know that I would make it like a regular steak, like actually, you know, searing it off, cooking it like steak mode. But if you add it, a little expensive, but if you add it to the stew, it's pretty great. Yeah, I've had, to Anton, I've had gator jerky, actually. I mean, it's not as good as biltong, but it's good. You should definitely try getting gator meat and making biltong out of it. I mean, if it's legally possible to do so. You can do it with deer and elk and stuff, you know, that'd be pretty fun. Maybe ostrich biltong, that'd be funny. Make exotic biltongs, just experiment. You can nobody else is making it. If you did like turkey biltong or something like that, you'd probably have all the hipsters buying it. I don't know if you can do that with birds, though. The Happy Plague Doctor. New York strip has the best flavor. As a Nebraskan, I will take this to the mat. Yeah, I'll stick with the T-bones. T-bone is where it is. T-bone or ribeye. Yeah, those two. Actually, I think I like ribeye a little bit more than T-bone. You got to think about it. That pie over there. What about a Styx X Razor body pillow cross promo? Yeah, it comes with a detachable fleshlight for all the perverts out there, probably. I'll say no to that, too. Yeah, what about rabbit biltong? Now, there's not a lot of meat on a rabbit, though, so maybe that wouldn't work. Then you got the disease problem, too. I'm going to make bunny stew when I get back, though. Rabbit haunches are available at the local Albert Heijn. You can get elk steaks. Had those once. They were pretty good. It's a little bit more expensive than I'd like to bother to spend for something that's very much beef-like anyway. But so I'll stick with the ribeyes and shit. Yeah, ribeyes are good. We used to, when we were dirt poor, we used to have those cube steaks. It's that really, really rough cut that normally would become stew meat or not even stew meat. And they pound it they pound it with the thing in order to loosen it up to make it more palatable. So you have a cube steak. It's really, really cheap, or at least it was before Bidenomics. It's probably as expensive as a T-bone used to be. Wasted Bonehead Sticks, I disagree with you thoroughly. Chicken is the best meat. Fried chicken's great. And chicken stew, there's nothing wrong with that. Ultimately, though, I'm not a huge fan of chicken. A roasted chicken, again, basted really well and really nice and herby crisped on the outside, like that's good. That's wholesome food. But chicken on a sandwich, sliced chicken, no, not really. I'll opt for corned beef mostly. By the way, please send no more super chats. We're riding up over an hour, actually. I lost track of where we were, and I didn't get any tips, I think, about the Prime Minister of Slovakia getting shot a few hours ago. OMG puppies. Chuck roast slow cooked with potatoes, carrots, and onions. Flavor infuses into the veggies, then make gravy from the juices left in the pot. One good chicken dish, really quickly here, that I did make was the Parthian chicken from Tasting History with Max Miller. And when I did it, I had potato chunks in there, and they really absorbed that fucking flavor. Most flavorful friggin' potatoes I've ever had. I didn't need ketchup on them. That's probably a new one. I mean, it's almost heretical for somebody like me to say it, but I didn't even put ketchup on them. Stormblood 20, pan-fried catfish. Never had it, but would definitely try. Sticks Plushie Distribution Incorporated. Hi. Well, hello. Christian Garbedian, your take on Red Lobster going underwater. Haha, good pun. Who ate at Red Lobster? Bullshit. I want to go to one of the local places if I want seafood, if I'm like at the ocean. We went to Red Lobster a few times, and maybe back in the 90s it was good, or at least palatable. But there's nothing that you can get there that for a very small price hike you can't get it at a normal seafood restaurant like a mom and pa owned one that contributes to the local economy and has fresher ingredients. So there's no point to going to Red Lobster. I'm not surprised in the least. Lev Polyakov, the skin is the best part of the chimpkin. Yeah, the chicken skin. Some people avoid it. They're like, well, it's got too much fat. And I'm like, yeah, that's why it's tasty. Joe, love you, Sticks. Deer meat is also fantastic. Agreed. I essentially live off it. That's real organic meat, not the NIMBYs BS the rich pretend is free range. Yeah, if you go hunting, you can get quite a bit of meat from that. I don't know. I'm not really much for hunting. I do it out of necessity. If I couldn't afford meat or, it's a disaster situation, I'd definitely be willing to drop a deer or something. But, yeah, I'd rather not. And I know I'm being a hypocrite because I know that burger I just ate, an animal died for it. It got killed. Just so sue me, it's perfectly fine. I prefer non-processed meats, but I won't turn down a chili dog without beans in the chili, of course. Anyways, I thank you all for tuning in to the almost 4,500 people that tuned in live. I will be live again tomorrow, of course, of the news. You'll excuse me, the pine trees are sperming in my throat and my nostrils at the moment. Also, keep in mind, 5:30 p.m. today, Eastern Time, I go live on the Quarterings live stream as his co-host, so I'll be doing that as well. One last chat. Flinters Lodig, I would never order the chicken at a restaurant where I can have steak or fish. Exactly. Yeah, I wouldn't understand it. Or lamb. Like if you're getting Indian food, you know, chicken biryani and stuff like that. Okay, that's fine. But they've got lamb. I'm going to choose the lamb because lamb is fucking delicious. Can't wait to have more of that. Maybe we should get Anton to make lamb biltong or something. That'd be funny. Anyways, yeah, I'll go offline now. Hour 5, actually, today. And I thank you all for tuning in again. I will be live again tomorrow with the news, hopefully with updates about the Slovakian Prime Minister. Hopefully he heals. That's about all. Peace out.